Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5 and this is a video on what I like to call the GoPro of World War I. This is the vest pocket Kodak, and just a little summary of photography and warfare. We had photography at the Civil War, the Spanish-American War, the Crimean War, and these cameras took wet plates. So what you would do is you would have a portable dark room, you'll paint these glass plates, put them in a dark slide, put the dark slide in the camera, you would take your picture, which took minutes, not seconds or divisions of seconds, and then you would take the plate back in a dark slide, all within inside the camera, take the film, or not the film, but the glass plate out of the camera, put it in your dark room, and then you'll develop the glass plate, which you would make prints out of. And because these cameras' shutter speeds were measured in minutes and not 1/5 of a second, 500th of a second, half a second, or a second, you had to be very still for a long period of time. And these cameras were really designed to be used in studios where they would have people set up and they would have like little clamps or supports for their heads. And that way the people could stay in that same position for however long it took to take that picture, and then there won't be any blurs or distortions in the photo. And so these cameras were very inefficient at capturing battle scenes and warfare in general. They're just not practical. And, you basically had a guy in a horse and buggy following the battle, and they would have to paint these plates up ever so often, and then they would often pose the soldiers in scenes to take photos. So you're not actually getting action shots. You're not getting that GoPro effect. So fast forward, Kodak invented film, or what we know as film. It's a celluloid film that has an emulsion on it, and they first came out with what I think is the 120 film, is what I normally shoot, and this was in the Kodak Brownie. And the whole goal of Kodak was to make photography accessible to the amateur. So used to photography was a very high-end professional industry, and you didn't just do it on your weekends. You didn't go and walk and shoots. You didn't document your vacation. So if you wanted a family picture, you had to get it painted, or you had to go to a professional photographer to get that picture taken. And a lot of these photos were pretty small too, so you're not capturing life, you're just capturing the human image. So Kodak invented 120 film, and then fast forward to 1912, they invented 127 film. And 127 film is smaller, which made for a compact camera. As you can see, this thing is not much bigger than my iPhone. iPhone's a little bit bigger, but a lot thinner. And these cameras were advertised as vest pocket Kodaks. And Kodak really didn't use the term camera because they were hoping that the word Kodak would be synonymous with camera, and that people would stop using the term camera and just refer to everything as Kodaks, which would be an advertisement for Kodak. Kind of like with Band-Aids. Band-Aids are not really Band-Aids, that's a brand. They're adhesive bandages. But we are so used to saying the brand name Band-Aid that we just associate that product with that brand name. And that's what Kodak was trying to do. Kodak was really good at advertising. They also invented the term Kodak moment. And they started advertising these at the beginning of the war as the vest pocket Kodak or the soldier Kodak. And these permeated the battlefield in World War I. They were at every significant point in World War I. I can't think of one that it wasn't at, especially on the Western Front. They were there when, they were at the Battle of the Somme, at the Christmas Truce, the Battle of Yelps, or Yeeps, I don't know how to pronounce it. When the invasion of some Greek island area that I'll put in the annotations. I'll put it right here because I cannot say it. The landing of whatever. And the Kodak company encouraged soldiers to document their adventure. Remember, for a long time, warfare was glamorized. It was something to be proud of. It was something, it's like, oh, look at me, I'm a hero. and like the major public didn't realize how horrific warfare was. So Kodak actually advertised, "Document your adventure." And yes, it was an adventure, but it was also a major conflict, and a lot of people died. Anyways, I got two examples here, and just to go over some of the stats and specifications, these take 127 film. These are the GoPros of World War One. These made it possible for soldiers at the front, in the trenches, to take pictures of trench life and sometimes combat life, for those who are brave enough to do it. And, so this is a cool book. You can get this book, and it has the history of World War One and this camera. And then halfway through it, it has a page that says "The Conflict." Then it has a bunch of photos taken with these cameras with a quote associated with the picture, and information about who died, who survived, and where they are and stuff like that. So these are the vest pocket Kodaks, and these are the autograph variants. So you pull this screen up, get your stylus, and this would take a special autograph film. They no longer make the autograph film, although I think you can get expired rolls of it. You can still get 127 film. It's discontinued, but there's still people producing it, like boutique people, production of it. You would basically get 120 film, cut it to size, spool it on a 127 spool, and a lot of people say it is prohibitively expensive to shoot 127. I'm going to buy a few rolls of it, and I'm going to decide which one of these cameras shoot the best, and probably keep that one and consider selling the other one. Although they're both awesome, because they're both very different. They're different price brackets, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But back to the autograph film. The autograph film had some carbon paper in between the negatives. You'll take this metal stylus, and you might write Bob 1915 or Christmas Truce or what have you. You had a small little area where you would write information, and it will turn up on the negative and then on the print. So you can actually use this somewhat as a notebook. It's almost like tagging your friends in a photo before Instagram existed. Really cool stuff. Unfortunately, they discontinued 127 film, and the autograph film is even harder to get. But you would write your information, you would expose it to light for a few seconds, and then you would close it. Very cool stuff. These cameras, you look at them and you're like, oh, where's the button? If you grew up in that time period, well, you extended these out. These are bellow cameras, and this had a lever on it. So if you wanted to put it on a table and do a bulb shot or a time shot, you can do longer exposures, or just steady the camera. Then you have different settings. I can't really read these, but they're going to have like marine, cloudy, they have, this is your aperture. And I don't know if you can see the iris, but let's see, let me get the more affordable version out. And this one, I think, is missing the lens. It might have a lens. I can't really see the lens. But you can see the iris opening up, the aperture opening up. And there's your viewfinder. And if you were going to take a portrait, you would leave it like that. But if you're going to take a landscape, you would move it. And then you could shoot landscape. And then remember to move it back up before you close the camera. Now, I got two different variants. Also, just to point things out, this is the special model. They came out with their standard model, then they had the standard autograph model, and then they had the vest pocket Kodak autograph special. And the special had Moroccan leather, or Moroccan pin leather on it, had a fancier case with a bell on it. The cheaper one didn't have the bell or loop, and this one had a superior lens. Now, this lens looks a little bit cloudy. I don't know. These are serviceable. It's just I'm not very handy. And this one, you can tell looks like it doesn't have a lens. And I don't know if that'll affect the picture at all. I'm going to run a couple of rolls through these cameras, and I'll share those on Instagram. But yeah, this is the special model, has a Moroccan pin leather on it, has potentially a Zeiss lens, and then there's a cheaper lens, because at one point, or not at one point, but eventually, because the world's at war, if your parts you're getting from Zeiss is in Germany, you can't get that product anymore. So, you know, there's an embargo there. So they stopped using Zeiss lenses, and they used a different lens that I can't pronounce the name to because I'm severely dyslexic. But yes, these are really cool pieces of not only photography history, but military history. And let's see if I can open this. You can open it like that. Loads kind of like an early Leica, except this is before 35mm film or 35mm still film on cameras. 35mm film eventually became a thing. How do I get this out? This is a 127 spool. And what you would do is you'll take this spool, put it on this side, then first off you'll load up the film into the giving spool and the taking spool. You would slide this in here, and then you would close it, lock it. Let's see if I can lock it behind the tripod. Ow. Locked it. Almost took my nail off. This one might be a little bit difficult to shoot, but I ended up locking it. And what you would do is you would turn this key until you saw what frame you're supposed to be on. I don't have film right now, so I can't show you, but that's the process of basically shooting this camera. Then you would unbellow, open up your camera, and you would press the shutter. That lens is very foggy. I might be able to clean that. Now, there's really some cool things about this camera. First off, it's portable. You can take it with you. You can shoot pictures on the battlefield. If you're brave enough, you can take pictures of trench life. It can save your life. There's accounts of people having this camera, you know, in its case, in their pocket, and then a bullet or shrapnel coming out and destroying the camera, but saving the life of the person having the camera. Now, in 1915, the war started, I believe, in 1914. In 1915, the military British brass, I was fixed to say military brass, but it's the British military governing party, banned cameras. Which would be funny if the people under them said, this is not a camera, this is a Kodak, but that would probably get you court-martialed as well. But yes, they banned cameras for a few reasons. One, they didn't want the people back home seeing pictures of dead people. That's very demoralizing, and you don't want to think of your son Jimmy killing people. Even though you know that's the reality, you don't want to see it. And oftentimes the Germans of this time would take pictures of the people they killed, and then the British would say, oh, look at these demonic Germans doing this thing. So it behooved the government not to let the civilians know how bad warfare is, because they're trying to keep their empire here. So also there was the issue of soldiers taking pictures of military installments and then it getting leaked out to the enemy. So in 1915, the governing body of the British military banned the use of cameras by soldiers. Now the officers, they had cameras, you know, who's going to arrest them? And yes, it was an arrestable offense. You could be fined, you could be arrested, you could be you can be court-martialed. And so with all this negative publicity on cameras and the risk, soldiers chose to keep their cameras. Don't tread on me, basically. And they took some amazing pictures. And like I said, in this book, it's not very big, it's easy to read. And it just so happened I turned to the page I wanted to turn to, the conflict. And this is where they have, you know, pictures of the warfare. And I'm going to pull up, this one is the one I was looking for. This Australian regiment took a picture of their mascot and pet koala. And it has information right here about that. Unfortunately, the koala didn't make it through the war and didn't even make it to the front lines. But there's a rich history of soldiers in World War I illegally having pets that helped out in the war. One of them being a bear, an Indian black bear. And yes, that's a real thing. But anyways, has a lot of photos taken with these cameras. They actually got a photo of a guy who had the camera in his hand like this. So the camera was taken with this camera of the guy holding this camera. Unfortunately, this camera, the viewfinder, can come off. And that is unfortunate. I don't know if I can fix that. But it still technically works. You can still turn it to the side and use it as a landscape photo viewfinder. But yeah, these cameras were the #1 documentation tool of World War I. I call it the GoPro of World War I because you're getting all of your action shots, you're getting all the historical moments with these cameras. And I told you that these are different. This one is the special, and this is kind of the standard model. And just to put things in perspective, this is the special model. I don't know when the special model, when this price for the special model came out, but at one point this cost $13. And I'm going to say around 1914, 1915. $13 in 1914 in today's money in 2024 is $408.99. That's how much it costs to buy this camera if you're going to war and have the special model with the special holster or case, you know, with the improved lens and features on it. The standard model, which you have right here, which looks to be in beautiful shape other than the lens, cost $6 in 1904 or 1914. So I know pretty much as a fact that this one cost $16 or $6 in 1914. This one cost $13 at one point in that time period. But $6 in 1914 in today's money is $188.72. So yes, these were top of the line technology back then, and this is the GoPro of World War I. And one of my favorite stories of World War I is the Christmas truce. That's why it's called the last civilized war, or last civilized war. And you got people writing back home about the Christmas truce. The officers and the monarchs were pissed off about it. But you have people saying, I wouldn't have traded this experience for anything. All the time in the trenches, this was the best experience I ever had. You know, we had this German guy yell across the thing, Merry Christmas! And they start singing hymns, they play football, they give gifts. It was a beautiful moment in an ugly, ugly war. And these cameras were all in that business. They were at the Battle of the Somme. And so, amazing history. And there's a book called Cameras at War. And this camera has its own chapter in there. And it covers the Crimean War to the Korean War. It talks about the photography tools used in those conflicts. So that's it. That's the video. I'm a Satsu 5, and I'm out.